Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Moderately Interesting Podcast, where we talk about everything. Everything. My name is Mitch, and I am joined by...
Hey, guys, I'm Aaron.
And we decided to put together a podcast.
So, Mitch.
Yeah.
The Moderately Interesting Podcast.
What about it?
What is it? What are we doing? What can listeners expect?
Well, listeners can expect a plethora.
Oh, good word.
Of information that is moderately interesting. Hence, the name, the Moderately Interesting Podcast. Do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna just kind of talk about, moderately interesting stuff, and we're just gonna talk about, expect Marvel, Star Wars. Those are the kind of the big ones we really want to talk about. But
yeah,
I mean, Avatar,
pop culture,
pop culture,
movies,
movies,
books,
books.
A lot of entertainment type stuff.
Yeah. So kind of expect a lot of that to be reoccurring. Expect Mitch to kind of ask me questions about the various topics that we just brought up right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aaron is definitely the expert on a lot of this stuff. I am just the inquirer. I ask questions and you tell me what the answers are.
Yeah, exactly. So some of these questions, it's going to be just Mitch asking them. Sometimes I might ask Mitch some questions.
Yeah.
But we also want you guys to get involved. So at the end of the episode, we're going to tell you guys how to ask us questions. And please, please, please send us questions that we can ask and hopefully answer. Like, who would win a fight, Superman or Goku?
That's a good question. That Aaron would know.
Yeah.
Or would you could make a good case for both of them, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah. Or why does how did Darth Vader get his red lightsaber?
Mm-hmm.
Questions like that, Yeah. And that's kind of like what we're going to be talking about, just some moderately interesting stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah. And what's new in the Star Wars universe or the Marvel universe.
Or the Marvel universe. Or the Avatar universe. Bum, 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 because we're getting an Avatar universe now.
We'll get you updated on all that stuff and go into detail.
Yeah, your one-stop podcast, And
we'll keep it moderately interesting.
We'll try.
Yeah. It might get too interesting.
Yeah, we might actually break through the moderately interesting. It might not be moderately; it just might be interesting and what the rebrand.
Yeah, and I think over the course of 10,000 episodes, which is the goal.
That's the goal right off the bat.
We will have. I think it will average out to being moderately interesting. We'll have some.
I think so.
We'll have some crazy ecstasy laden episodes.
Super interesting.
And then we'll have just dull Bueller, and then things like that.
And then it'll average out.
Yeah,
it'll even out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's what you can expect from the Moderately Interesting Podcast.
Yeah, it kind of just started when we were just playing video games and just kind of talking about different stuff while we played. And Mitch was just like, "Hey, want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "Hey, yeah,
why not?
Yeah,
it's free.
It's free. It's true.
Free and easy.
Freezy. You make it look easier than it is, Mitch."
So we are excited to be doing this and see how this first episode goes.
Yeah.
Just a quick note: you can reach us on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, our handle is. It's kind of weird, but it's moderately INTE and then the number 3. Twitter did not give us very good options when we were making a Twitter handle.
Stupid Twitter.
Twitter. But that's moderately INTE and then number 3.
And then number 3.
Number 3. So go ahead and tweet us, guys. Specifically tweet us questions, about Star Wars, Marvel, tabletop role playing games, Batman, Superman, Ant-Man, all the mans.
All the mans.
And the womans.
Womans. We'll be talking about all of them.
Yeah. Just ask us questions, and when we get to the question bits, we might get to yours. So
yeah. So tweet us,
email us. You can email us your questions too if you don't have the tweets. You can email us at moderatelyinteresting21@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
We didn't go with the Hotmail. We thought long and hard about it. Didn't go with the Yahoo.
I was about to hit submit on a Hotmail account.
Yeah, and I was like, don't do it. Does Hotmail even still exist?
I think so.
Oh, man, hang on. I gotta look this up real quick.
I'm 99% sure it does.
I mean, I'm sure it does, because why wouldn't it? No, it doesn't. Hotmail became Outlook.
Oh. I think you can still log into your Hotmail account.
I'm sure
through
you can.
Outlook.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay, that was moderately interesting, if we're going to be honest with each other.
That was moderately interesting. I bet a lot of people out there are wondering the same thing.
I'm sure people are staying awake at night just wondering.
Whoever ends up listening to this will probably feel like that was something that they didn't know they needed to know. That was probably,
yeah.
I have a lot of those moments, like daily.
Oh yeah, I didn't need to know a lot of stuff that I learned. A lot of voice actors. I'm like, oh, that was actually this person. Interesting.
Like Rufio,
Avatar.
Rufio is in Avatar.
Rufio.
I have no idea what his actual name is, but
he's also in Dante Bosco.
Bosco.
He was also in American Dragon Jake Long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
That show was good.
That show was really cool.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Danny Phantom, just like a chill high school kid that turns into a ghost or a dragon.
Danny Phantom, American Dragon, Jake Long, and Avatar were like all out at the same time, and those were like some good days.
Yeah, and then you always had the SpongeBob.
Yeah, SpongeBob.
Whatever.
But I wanted the kid that could turn to a half ghost or turn into a dragon. So.
SpongeBob was kind of like filler for the good stuff.
I can't believe that show is still on, dude. Like, that show came on when I was in elementary school. Like, that's when it started.
Same. Because we're the same age. It makes sense.
Same, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched anything past, like, the 5th season.
I couldn't even tell you, like, seasons of SpongeBob. Like,
I can because I looked it up. All the good episodes that you probably watched were... If you watch SpongeBob, I don't know if you watch SpongeBob. Well, what are you currently watching, reading, etc.?
Well, let's see. Reading right now. Actually, I got it right here. So this year, the Star Wars did a brand new book series called The High Republic. That's taking place 200 years before Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And so that just got released this year, 2021 January, and it is book series, comic books, young adult novels, kind of preteen novels. There's going to be a manga even for it coming out later this year. Nice. And it's just it's like they're just different books set within this time period. So I just did the first book called The Light of the Jedi. I just read the young kids, not kids, but like the preteens book, and that one's called The Test of Courage.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm reading the young adult novel by Claudia Gray called Into the Dark. Claudia Gray is kind of the best, in my opinion, the best Star Wars author currently writing for Star Wars canon.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Claudia Gray, she's done Master and Apprentice, which is a book about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon right before Episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which was just really cool. She's also done when the canon, the new canon first started. She wrote one called Lost Stars, which takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about very very YA, very Romeo and Juliet, where this guy and a girl, they are like in the Imperial Academy together,
Mm-hmm.
and then
do they share blue milk with? Do they put 2 straws in a blue milk cup and share?
Exactly. And then
that's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. And then eventually they kind of one defects and joins the rebels, and one stays with the Empire, but they have this attraction relationship. But yeah, I'm not talking about Lost Star right now. I'm talking about High Republic.
Right.
Yeah, so right now the High Republic is really cool. Perfect place to start and pick up a Star Wars book. Not Into the Dark. The Light of the Jedi, which is the one that I finished, is the first adult novel for it, and it kind of is just it kind of in a way it reminds me a lot of Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie,
mm-hmm.
Where it is just trying to set up a lot of stuff but still be its own contained story.
Right.
So we're kind of introduced to all of these new characters, a lot of new Jedi. Again, 200 years before the Phantom Menace. So Yoda is still alive, and we get to see a little bit of Yoda before the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
The bad guys in this book are called the Nile, and they're these space pirates, space Vikings.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the cool thing about them, without kind of going into too many spoilers, is there are 3 groups of pirates, space Vikings, but they're working together. So all 3 of them have their own leaders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have to they have this informal government of the 3 leaders get together, and they're oh, we're gonna hit up this planet and we're gonna steal this.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes them really dangerous for the galaxy is they have these things called the paths, and the paths are these unique, unknown to the Republic hyperspace lanes. So they can travel up, they can essentially travel through hyperspace lanes that the Republic doesn't know about. So they can get to places way faster than the Republic can. And so the book starts off with this old spaceship, and they're traveling through hyperspace. They're going to go to the outer rim of the galaxy. So kind of imagine a highway going northbound, southbound.
Mm-hmm.
And during this traveling, the Nile's spaceship nearly collides with them at hyperspace. And essentially the Nile are going east-west bound, and they almost crash into them.
Right.
And so the spaceship, the civilian spaceship, has to slam on the brakes and move out of the way, but they're traveling at light speed. Mm-hmm. So doing that causes the spaceship to crumble and explode, and the debris of the spaceship falls out of hyperspace, but they're traveling at the debris is traveling at near speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
So when it crashes into stuff, it's like a nuclear bomb going off.
Right. Like a fragment of the ship has the effect of an H-bomb.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what the first third of the book is about, is they call it the Great Disaster of just these fragments are just dropping out of hyperspace and just running into stuff, and it's going to run into this fairly high populated, this big chunk is going to run into this highly populated planet, or fairly highly populated planet.
I feel like Star Wars does a really good job of creating these, I don't want to call that one a weapon, but the Death Star was a weapon, just some kind of a situation where something can basically destroy a planet.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate threat.
Right, yeah. And this one, it's not necessarily it's going to destroy the planet, but it's going to wipe out all life right. on the planet.
Right.
We're in this kind of scenario, they're the dinosaurs, and this debris is a meteor coming to kill them all.
Okay. Well, we can do a deep dive on that. I would love to read that one. I haven't read that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's I've got it right here. It's not it's only 400 pages, so pretty quick read if you Really want to get down to it. Yeah, like the High Republic era has been kind of surprisingly good. I've been looking forward to this for a while. They announced it last year on my birthday, actually, which was kind of fun. They had like the trailer for it, and it was supposed to come out in 2020, but obviously got delayed due to unforeseen circumstances.
Right.
But it came out this year, and I have been getting the books. The comics are coming out. The comics are out, and I've been reading those as well. Yeah, it's just been a really good read so far. The characters are all super interesting. They have on the cover a Wookiee Jedi.
Oh yes.
So that's pretty cool.
I love Wookiees.
Wookiees are awesome.
Wookiees are the best.
Wookiees are the best. Yeah, Wookiees are pretty cool. And
well, cool.
Yeah. What about you? Got anything good going on lately?
Well, I am currently reading Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, which is I don't think I'm going to get into that right now because it's very deep and I'm still digesting. I just got done with part 1, so I'm
Oh, did you really?
Part 1 of 5 done.
We will definitely talk more about that. Talk more about the series, the Stormlight Archive.
Mm-hmm. One of the best out there by far.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And this one is not disappointing at all.
Yeah.
So far.
I bought it, but I have not read it yet. I'm a little behind on the Stormlight.
I will say, before we move on, that the Rhythm of War, 4th book in the Stormlight Archive, does dive in quite a bit more into the Cosmere than probably any other book that he's written.
Do you want to explain the Cosmere a little bit, Mitch, for the uninitiated?
Yeah, I'll do like a very brief Cosmere 101.
Yeah, just
I got into it about a year ago, so this is about all I know anyways. So it's going to be very basic. But the Cosmere is a collection of books that Brandon Sanderson has written. They all are a part of this Cosmere universe. And I liken it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you have a lot of individual stories taking place, but it's all part of a bigger picture.
Exactly. The Stormlight Archive is a book series, but that's like the Captain America series within the MCU. And then you've got another series like Mistborn, and that would be like the Iron Man. But they're all interconnected.
Yeah. So just look up the Cosmere books. He's written other books that aren't part of the Cosmere, which are still good. I've read a couple of them now, but the Cosmere books are definitely my favorite just because I like having that overarching story that everything starts to tie into.
Absolutely.
And you don't really grasp it at first. And that's what, I don't really like to reread books very often, but I'm looking forward to rereading all of these books because I want to go and find the stuff that I missed that I know about now because of that Cosmere lore that's lingering. Yeah.
It's only episode run right now, people, but I think Mitch and I can pretty much guarantee that we will 100% come back and talk more about the Stormlight Archive. I'm almost positive that we'll do a Rhythm of War episode when we both have read Rhythm of War. Mistborn. We'll do a Cosmere deep dive. We will do a Stormlight Archive deep dive. This is definitely going to be something that we will come back to because Mitch and I are both big fans of them.
Yes.
99.9% guarantee that we are going to
guarantee it.
Guarantee it. Callahan guarantee.
Well, along with reading deep Cosmere books, I'm also happy to say that I did watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Hey, me too.
And I was...
let's talk about that. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I was going to say I was pleased.
Oh, yeah, definitely good. I mean...
I'll be honest, when WandaVision came out, I did not really care about either of those characters. And I was like, cool. They're just trying to make money, And then, or they're trying to get people signed up for Disney Plus or whatever their motive might be. But then I watched it and I was like, this is really good.
Yeah. WandaVision for sure. I mean, I liked I've always kind of liked Scarlet Witch, especially when Elizabeth Olsen came on during Age of Ultron. Vision, I kind of always liked the idea of Vision, but like I never read too many Vision comics as a kid or anything like that.
Right.
But Paul Bettany has done a fantastic job as the Vision.
Yeah.
And I was very interested for WandaVision when that was announced and coming out, because I wanted to see what was going to happen with Vision, obviously, with how Infinity War ended with him dying.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Infinity War or Endgame.
Which you really should have by now. I mean,
you're a little bit behind.
It's been out for a while now. Like,
but yeah, when I say I didn't care about them, no offense to the character themselves. I think that the characters are interesting, but they get kind of put on the back burner.
There's no way of getting around that they've been in the back burner. Those two characters specifically. I mean, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier have been put on the back burner.
And I was going to say that, like, I felt the same when they announced that show. I was like, oh, great. And Loki, too. Although Loki I was a little more excited about.
I think Loki's a little more,
because I like his character. He's had a little more screen time.
Yeah.
But Falcon and the Winter Soldier was kind of the same. But now that I've seen WandaVision, after WandaVision ended, I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, kind of keeping it to that, I think there was a lot to unravel just in that first episode.
So let's do a recap on the episode.
Yeah, so it starts with Sam going on a mission. We see Sam being the Falcon, being like really the coolest Falcon we've seen in the MCU, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely kind of, during that flying segment, I wish we actually got to see this on like a movie screen, and because like the way he's like flying through like the cabin or like not canyons, was like really cool. Actually made me wish for 3D for the first time in a long time.
Right.
So we see Falcon. Yeah, go ahead.
When he saves that dude through the helicopter.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very
cinematic.
MCU, very cinematic. It was just really cool. We get that scene where like they showed a lot in the trailers of Falcon like hiding behind his wings as like a bullet shield.
Yeah, that was cool.
They've been showing that scene off a lot, and we get that. That's like the first 5 minutes of the show.
Mm-hmm. Great way to start the show off.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then we kind of meet this informant liaison kind of guy who works for the military, but like it's like the bridge between the military and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of talking, and he's like, hey, if I got anything else, I'll keep you posted. And then really that's like we get 3 action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of them right there within the first 5 minutes of the show.
Right.
Yeah, it's really not a whole lot of action, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that's bad. And then we kind of see Sam, and he goes home. And we see Sam's sister.
Home.
Yeah, home. We see his sister. We see his nephews.
They're struggling.
They're struggling. We discover that like Sam's family makes like a living fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Since Sam's been blipped out, like his sister's had a really hard time these past 5 years, trying to make ends meet, trying to keep the family business afloat, and she wants to sell the family's boat and just kind of be done with it. And Sam is hesitant, pushing back against it, doesn't want to sell it. It's half his, it's half hers. And Sam kind of convinces her to hold on and that they should try to get a loan, essentially, to save their family home.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to Bucky.
And it starts with a flashback, right?
That's a flashback, yeah. Do you want to kind of go over Bucky's flashback for a second?
Yeah, I don't understand all of it, but it goes to, and you can tell it's a flashback because he's got his mask on. Like just like you see him in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he looks just like how he does in the Winter Soldier. He's got the mask on, he's
long
got the hair.
He's got the silver arm with the red star.
Silver arm with the Winter Soldier Soviet star.
Yeah. So he goes in and he's basically just fighting a bunch of dudes. And
just assassinating.
The last guy that he killed in the doorway, which ends up tying into the main story, was that who he was meant to go kill?
I don't think that's who he was meant to go kill. It kind of looked like he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's how I felt. It was like an innocent bystander that just got in the way.
He saw too much and was
because it kind of felt like when he pulled the trigger, it was kind of he regretted it instantly, or he would regret it later on.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell right there because there is kind of like maybe not like a hesitation, but like a movie beat of like hesitation.
Right. Yeah. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But then he is the next scene. He's in I think he's in with a therapist.
The therapist. Yeah.
Talking about his issues, trying to make amends and
how he's reforming himself.
Yeah. And then that scene with it goes to one of his like current reparations where he's trying to make amends with somebody, and he has rigged that lady's car with the remote control device, and he's like kind of taunting her in a way. Yeah. And then he goes up and smiles at her and says thank you or something. I can't remember all the details, but he's basically fixing things that he's done in the past or trying to. Yeah.
Do you remember the rules that they have implemented for Bucky?
I don't remember them word for word, but I remember the rules.
Yeah. First rule was don't do anything illegal. Which I think he kind of borderline breaks. I mean,
yeah.
But like it's fine, I guess. Rule number 2, it's the most important rule. Nobody gets hurt. Which I think would fall under the first rule.
Yeah, and I think he makes an argument about that. Why isn't that the first rule? I think.
Yeah, no, yeah, he does. I just don't remember the third rule off the top of my head.
And rule number 3 is Bucky must demonstrate his new way of life in recovery by stating, I'm no longer the Winter Soldier. I'm James Bucky Barnes, and you're part of my efforts to make amends. That was what he said to the lady in the car.
Yeah. I'm no longer the Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah. With a smile.
Yeah. And that was great.
Yeah. I really liked his side of the story. I like both of them. They were both really good and interesting, but I'd like to see where he was going because he's had a lot of stuff happen.
Yeah, and like I think that's kind of like I don't know if it's meant to I don't know if it's a problem or not. Because I feel like I'm supposed to. I feel like Falcon is like more of the main character. They're both the main characters, but like Falcon was more center of that episode,
right? Kind of like how Wanda was the center of WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision. Yeah, exactly. But I definitely was more interested in seeing more of Bucky's story.
Yeah. And I think they're going to get pretty equal screen time.
I'm sure they are, yeah.
Because they're both still alive and they've both got a lot of development that I think is about to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I definitely kind of going on with Bucky's story. We see him meet up with this older gentleman and they go get lunch together. Mm-hmm. And like, it's very clearly established that they're friends, that they've done this a few times now.
Yeah.
And I was kind of confused at first because I was like, oh, is this like a World War II vet that like Bucky knew? Like that was kind of like my first thought.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. And like, I was like, oh, this is like one of the only friends that Bucky still has that's alive. And then, but then like, they're like later on in the episode when they ask Bucky how old he is, he's like, oh, 107 or whatever. Like that there's probably not a whole lot of World War II vets still around.
Right. Which is kind of sad to think about because it's showing more loneliness in
that's.
what
I
he's
mean,
going through.
and that's just like that is very quickly becoming
It's a
like something
reality.
that you could so well just thinking like World War II vets was something that you definitely were able to like talk to somebody like you could definitely I have talked to World War II vets before or like survivors of World War II but that's now becoming something of like you can only read about that now
Right.
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So he has his friend. They do go to a bar, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's like a I mean I kind of got like it was like a sushi bar kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Kind of the vibe I was getting from it.
And his friend asks a girl on a date for Bucky.
Yeah, asked the bartender out for him.
Yep.
And yeah, she says yes, and Bucky is kind of like happy about that. Pretty cool. And
he also
then
talks to the guy about his son a little bit, right?
yeah, a little bit, just like how his son died overseas, like on a business trip, foreign business trip.
Nobody
And
knows what happened to him.
yeah, like it just seemed like seems like a senseless killing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't put the two together until after they showed the scene at the end, but
Yeah. I think they kind of did a good job of like playing their cards close to their vest.
it was not predictable.
Yeah. And then it goes back to Sam and his sister, and they go to the bank to try to get a loan, and they get denied from the loan, and like it gets it's kind of questionable as to why. Uh, I think this is supposed to be like one of the bigger scenes of the show is like they have income, Sam has government contracts, guaranteed money coming in, and they still said no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and despite the fact that he's Falcon, I think the big one that a lot of people are talking about is what the heck? Sam is basically broke
Mm-hmm.
and got denied a loan at the bank. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's kind of talk about that for a second. I mean, what do you think? Have the Avengers not been getting paid?
I was actually curious about that. That was one of those things that I didn't know I wanted to know.
Right.
Until the banker brought it up, or his sister brought it up, or whoever brought it up.
Brought it up. They brought it up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, how do they get paid? I kind of assumed that Tony Stark just like gave them
Yeah,
like a
and that's kind of that's kind of what my assumption was is that Tony was taking care of everyone.
yeah.
I mean, like we see in Civil War, Wanda and Vision are just living at the Avengers headquarters in upstate New York.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what was going on for a long time. Obviously, after Civil War, Wanda, Bucky was living in Wakanda, but
yeah.
Bucky and Falcon,
got his new arm.
Yeah, Bucky and Sam were on the run for however many years in between Civil War and Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they probably weren't making a lot of money. And then they both got blipped, so then they went 5 years without making money. But I think the big thing is after Endgame, Tony's dead.
Yes.
And at this point, I would assume that the Avengers base is vacant. I don't think anybody's living there. I don't think anybody's doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also kind of raises the question of, are the Avengers still active at this point?
Right.
And I don't think they are.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they're all. It's kind of setting up for like a really good. Is it Phase 5 or Phase 4 that they're starting?
4.
Phase 4.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of setting up for like some good individual like character building. Like
right.
They're all kind of turning back to their own lives and being like, okay, we just saved the universe, basically, not just the world, but the universe. And they can kind of be like, oh, I need to focus on myself, I need some me time. And that's probably when they're like, oh, I'm broke. Like Winter Soldier's got his depression or something. He's going through something.
Yeah, he's got his baggage. He's been through a lot. So I think the big thing too is with the Avengers is the two leaders are basically dead.
Yeah.
Iron Man and Captain America, like for a long time, not just in the MCU, but in the comics and show like cartoons and stuff like that, they're kind of like the two co-leaders.
Yeah.
Of the Avengers, and I think the kind of interesting thing that they might have been hinting at, foreshadowing, implying, was when Sam meets with Rhodey.
Uh-huh.
And so you kind of have like the new Cap and the new Iron Man.
Yeah, it's like their sidekicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, because I mean, Cap definitely hands down the mantle of Captain America to Sam.
Right.
And like, yeah, obviously War Machine is, a different version of Iron Man, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of wondering if at the end of this or at some point, are those two kind of going to be like, hey, like the world still needs the Avengers. Like we need to pick up this burden and kind of bring them back.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the big thing is I don't know if the Avengers are even functioning right now, and if they're not functioning, I don't think there is anybody to pay that.
Right. Yeah. And those are things that you just kind of wonder, is it like taxpayer money that's paying them? Or is it
I think
Stark's billions of dollars that he has coming in? Is he kind of funding everything?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think before Civil War, like the Avengers were like a non-profit organization essentially.
Right.
And yeah, Tony was the head of the nonprofit, and Tony Stark / Stark Industries was funding the nonprofit.
Yeah.
But I think now essentially that's defunct.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's got anything going on after Endgame. So yeah, I don't think anybody's paying them right now because I don't. So I guess I think they were kind of being paid before and funded before, but now since the Avengers aren't a thing anymore, yeah, I don't think Sam or Bucky are. So I think what's going on is I think Sam, like they're saying, is Sam is getting government contracts to work on.
Yeah.
And then it looks like Bucky is kind of going through a rehabilitation
mm-hmm.
process, and it looks like he's kind of being supported through the government.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be taxpayer money.
And hopefully Bucky has 106 years of savings.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder he might have his World War II pension. Like, yeah. I don't know if they'll.
How long does that last?
I mean, as long as he's alive, essentially.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah. Which you probably got like a lot of back pay on. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know how pensions and stuff like that really work. But
yeah, that's a very interesting like side note on that episode.
Yeah, that they kind of brought up. Yeah, and that's definitely something that like I think a lot of people are left wondering about.
So let's go to the ending.
Let's talk about the ending because I think that's the big one, right?
Yeah, we have kind of two things. The first reveal I'm thinking of is when Bucky finds out that his friend, his older gentleman friend, is the father of the flashback of the person he killed.
Of the victim of the young kid not kid, but
right.
Yeah, Bucky killed his son, and this is clearly Bucky went there to try to make amends for this, try to apologize. But he's having a tough time trying to do that.
Yeah. Now, the question I have is, are they friends because Bucky already knew, or was that a reveal for him as well? Because it felt like it was a reveal for him.
I kind of looked at it the other way around.
Yeah.
I think he knew, and that's why he
became friends with him.
That's why he became friends with him, but he has just had a hard time. And I think that's going to be a couple different reasons. I think one, like this is like the only friend that he has right now.
Yeah.
And by telling him he's going to lose this only friend that he has. And I think the other thing too is that this older gentleman is obviously like a very happy, maybe not happy, but a very nice guy.
Mm-hmm. No, he was picking a fight at the beginning.
Yeah, he was picking a fight. Exactly. But like, yeah, I think he's. I just don't think he wants to bring any more pain to this older gentleman.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing is. So I think he's afraid of losing this friendship that he's developed, and I think he's afraid of hurting this guy even more than he's already done.
Right.
And I think it's just gonna be hard for Bucky to be like, "Hey, yeah, so I killed your son, but I was brainwashed.
Yeah,
like I'm not that guy anymore." I think that's just a very hard thing to.
Well, we've already gone through that with Civil War.
Tony. Yeah, exactly.
Killed your dad, but I was brainwashed.
Yeah,
killed Tony your dad didn't care. Your mom. Yeah, and so it's not going to go down well.
Yeah, so I think those are like the two big things that are keeping him from talking about that.
Yeah, and then at the very end.
Well,
so technically, at the beginning.
Yeah, I think we need to go back because we didn't talk about this in the beginning. Is how Sam gives Cap's shield to the Smithsonian.
Right.
And even though Cap gave it to him at the end of Endgame, and kind of was passing the mantle on to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And at the start of this episode, Sam is giving it to the Smithsonian, and they have like a Steve Rogers Captain America exhibit going on.
And they did have a flashback of what he said to Captain America, where he said, "It feels like it belongs to somebody else," and then it kind of goes into that scene where he gives up the shield for display purposes.
For display purposes, yeah. For the museum, it belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see on the news the guy that I think it's the same guy, right? It's the same guy who he handed the shield to is on the TV going, "We need a new hero."
Yeah.
We needed these times are just as bad, times are just as rough, and we need a new modern Captain America.
Yeah. And that's something that the Endgame and other Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man took place after Endgame, right?
Yes.
So that's something that kind of talked about, but that was mostly focused on the death of Tony Stark. But
yes,
there's a lot of civil unrest within the United States and the world as well. But he's trying to calm down everything going on in the States, and that's why he brings in this.
Yeah, and we also see some terrorist supervillain activity going on in Europe.
It's like a red handprint.
Yeah, red handprint. Yeah, it definitely looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely some stuff going on. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the point where we see this brand new Captain America coming out.
Yeah.
Holding Cap's shield. And they introduce him as the brand new Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy kind of waves, smiles, and...
Do you think there's anything special about him, or do you just think he's a filler?
No, I think he is absolutely just a PR publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, did they do a good job of making this Captain America, just look like a total dick. He just doesn't he just looks like a douche. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a theory about it that kind of ties into the very first Captain America movie.
Okay.
Where they used him on stage as the hero.
Right, they sell war bonds, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be similar, and it's going to be kind of a play on the media with how the media has been going in the United States lately. And I think they might use him as they may film him fighting, bad guys or whatever, and then put it on the news or something.
Yes,
something similar to the first Avenger movie.
I agree to that. I think that we'll find out that this guy is a Navy SEAL or was an Army Ranger, something like that. But everywhere he goes, it's going to be recorded. And so he might actually fight. I think he is going to fight the terrorists, but you will see that on the news within an hour after he does it.
I bet he loses the shield.
Oh man, yeah.
Goes into enemy hands.
That would be crazy. I didn't think about that, but yeah, he might lose the shield.
Yeah.
I think Bucky is going to take it back first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think maybe if he does lose it, going off of that idea, I think Bucky gets it back.
Yeah. Bucky definitely has a longer history with Steve Rogers.
Yeah. And so that was kind of going into my theory of, I think it's going to be revealed that, like, Steve originally offered the shield to Bucky first.
Uh-huh.
And I think that might play into Sam's kind of character arc.
I kind of feel like the character of the Winter Soldier needs like a makeover with Captain America's shield. Like, he needs to have something that kind of brings him a better purpose, because right now he's just trying to, like, he still is kind of referred to as a Winter Soldier or just Bucky.
Yeah.
And he needs something that can kind of help him just be a good person, like do good things instead of a new persona.
Like,
yeah. Like, I think that's what he needs, other than just like going around and restitution, I think he needs a mantle to take up. And I also think it fits him better just because he was like, I don't know. I think it fits both of them, but I think that Falcon kind of has his own persona already.
Yeah, I do.
And it's a good one.
Mm-hmm. I do think that this is going to be, when the show ends, we're going to see Sam rocking the red, white, and blue and taking the shield.
Yeah.
I do think that's where this is going.
And he's going to lose all of his hair, and they're going to call him the Bald Eagle.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe at some point in the show, though, maybe Bucky takes the mantle for a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
I just think it'd be cool with his metal arm. Like, he has a shield on one arm, and then he's got his metal arm, so it's like he's dual wielding.
I mean, yeah, and Bucky has been in the comics. He took up the mantle for a while,
right?
So
has Sam?
Sam has as well. Yeah.
Okay. So they both have.
Yeah. So they both have.
I'm fine with either of them taking up the mantle, but I would love to see like a more, like, just a deeper storyline with that, rather than just like, here's my shield.
Yeah, and I think we are going to get that. I think this Captain America that they have right now, I think it's gonna be like, since like cameras, like we said, I think cameras are gonna follow him around.
Yeah,
and we're gonna see him just do something really bad.
Just stupid bad. Yeah.
Just like just punching civilians, like punting Kit Kats, punting kitties, like just like some really bad stuff. Like, maybe I think like really we'll see like somebody like surrender and he's still just gonna lay them out or something.
Right. He might have an evil side to him.
Yeah.
I want to know if he ends up getting like a super soldier serum type deal.
Yeah,
if he has it now, or if he ends up getting it to kind of match what Captain America had.
Yeah, so if they do go that route, which is definitely something they can do, usually when they try to recreate the super soldier serum, something bad happens. Yeah. I mean, like the Hulk was trying to recreate the super soldier serum, and he became the Hulk. Mm-hmm. Red Skull from the first movie. Yeah, I mean, and then there are I can't even remember that guy's name now. Did you ever watch Jessica Jones on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that one guy who like took the drugs.
Pill? Yeah.
Yeah, that's meant to be like a.
What was his name?
I can't remember his name anymore right now. It's been such a long time. But like those like pills that he were taking were supposed to be like a spin-off inspired version of the Winter Soldier, of the Super Soldier serum.
Soldier, yeah.
And they made him crazy. Like so I think we might see something like that where if he does take like a super soldier serum, like serum, that was a dumb way of saying it, but then yeah,
some
like maybe
kind of
he goes
substance.
Yeah, he might go crazy. He might just become like overly aggressive.
And they are shadowing it in a way, or hinting at there being some kind of a serum or some kind of a steroid injection type thing that makes people overpowered, like with the terrorist group. They had that dude that comes in and is just like booting people across plazas in wherever they were. Right. So there's probably something getting passed around. So it could end up in his hands eventually, and maybe in the Falcon's hands too. Maybe he ends up dropping the wings.
Yeah,
and actually becoming like Captain America or something.
I think if Falcon does become the next Captain America at the end of this, I don't think he will use any serums or substances or anything like that.
I think he'll keep his wings. I think those are. I mean,
that'd be cool.
I think it's really cool. Going back to that first fight scene, the really first thing I thought was like, this is when the dudes pulled out the wingsuits, the bad guys took out the wingsuits. I was like, this is sick because it's like they're fighting in his element now. It's all air fight.
Yeah, you know? that's it's like really dumb. That's like I mean, like it's like pulling out a water Pokemon against an electric Pokemon. It's like you're just playing right into his element. He's gonna wreck you guys.
Right. But the thing is, I mean, there was granted like 5 or 6 of those dudes and a bunch of helicopters shooting at him. It did take that much to kind of give him trouble, and he still ended up winning. But but it was kind of cool to see people take him on in his element. And
it was really cool.
Do some damage. Like they did do a little bit of damage to his wingsuit, and then I think he was pretty unharmed at the end as far as injuries go. But
yeah, it was pretty much him whipping on them. But yeah, they did damage his wings for a bit. But yeah, it was very cool to see Sam just take on a bunch of people. And win. It was very much like in the beginning of Civil War where he's like, I count 7.
Yeah.
And it's like 6. Like yeah.
But we mostly see him like attacking ground units from the air.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to see him in the air, attacking people in the air.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. Yeah. I'm sure they'll do more with that. Maybe not in this series, but in future movies they'll
we'll see more.
Kind of keep people
definitely.
Yeah.
But
yeah, overall, what'd you think?
Really good.
Out of 10. Go to 10.
Out of 10, I'll give it an 8.5.
That's exactly what I was going to give it to.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to give it an 8. I wasn't thinking of the 0.5, but yeah.
Okay. That's how I cheat. But yeah, I think it's very good. I think it's a strong opening. I think that's the big thing. It's a strong opening.
Yeah.
And it sets up a lot of interesting stories to be explored in the series.
It gives you more, in some cases, more attachment to the characters, and it continues some of the attachment to other characters. If you already are somewhat attached to them, it doesn't really have like it just carries on where you left off. It feels good like that. You kind of see them more in their personal life, and that's really nice because it establishes more of a human element to both of these guys.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I like. So I think a lot of people resonate with that. They want to relate to the characters, and it's hard to relate to like dudes that are flying around in the sky all the time. But it's easy to relate to people who can't get a bank loan. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I agree with you. Like very strong opening. Definitely have questions, and I do feel like some things may not have been introduced as strongly as they should have. But there's also X amount of episodes coming out. Is it 9?
Yeah.
Again.
I think it's 8.
8. So there's still 8 episodes or 7 more episodes to where they can establish a lot of those things.
they still have time to go over all of this.
That's one thing I like about TV series over movies is they have the time to really like evolve their characters and also go into like the stories and details and things like that. Whereas movies, not as much time. Even if it's a 3-hour movie, it doesn't give it enough time. A lot of the time. I said time like 40 times in that sentence. Well, we're going to wrap up in this episode, this very first episode of the Moderately Interesting podcast.
Number 1 in the books.
Number 1 in the books. We did it.
You did it. We did it. History.
We did it. We got a lot of stuff covered. Winter Soldier, a Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let us know on Twitter what you thought about it, because we love hearing other points of views. Anything we missed that we should have talked about, that we can look into for the next episode so we don't miss something. And then, we're looking forward to the next few episodes. We're going to be talking about the new Justice League coming up.
Snyder Cut. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
WandaVision will be coming up as a series, figuring out kind of where we think they're going to go with that. Goes. Yeah. Do some segments, some questions for Aaron, test his knowledge. Got a lot coming.
We got a lot coming. So please, guys, make sure to follow us on wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever. And anything else, Mitch?
Yeah, give us a rating and review, and remember to ask us questions because we like to answer questions.
Ask us questions.
Yeah. And this is the Moderately Interesting podcast. Thank you for listening.
See ya.